Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure you've seen the videos this weekend, seen by millions of people across the country, really. It's making international headlines as well. What do you say to people that say crime really is out of control in San Francisco, and also that there are no consequences for such behavior?
Let me be really clear. What we saw over the weekend, not just in San Francisco, but in Hayward and Walnut Creek and Chicago and San Jose, is absolutely unacceptable. If you bring that kind of nonsense, that kind of criminal behavior to our city, there will be consequences. We're eagerly awaiting the police conclusion of their investigation. They've already brought us 8 separate individuals in custody, and we're awaiting police investigation into what we believe to be more than 25 additional individuals who are still at large from Union Square last weekend. This is not a San Francisco specific problem. This doesn't have anything to do with local policies. Otherwise, we wouldn't see the problem all across the country and around the Bay Area. The fact of the matter is, when police bring me and my office cases that are well investigated, we file charges and we make sure there are consequences. We filed charges in more than 8,000 separate new criminal cases since I took office less than 2 years ago. And we are doing everything in our power to make sure that San Francisco is safe and feels safe for all those who live or visit.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because so many people have reached out to me, residents and tourists alike, who say they believe under your leadership, San Francisco specifically, not other cities across the country, has really become this haven for retail crime and property crime alike because of your hands-off approach to crime. What do you say to that?
Well, if it feels that way, then we've got work to do. We want everyone to feel safe and to be safe in San Francisco. And until everybody is safe and feels safe, our work is not done. That's why I've been focused on proactive work, not simply sitting back and waiting for police to bring us arrests. Just last week, my investigators took the lead on an investigation into a prolific thief from Target, who went there every single day for nearly 4 months and wasn't arrested a single time. My investigators showed up, effectuated an arrest, and we filed more than 100 separate criminal charges against her. Similarly, our organized retail theft task force is working shoulder to shoulder with SFPD and other regional and federal officials to investigate the organized crime that drives so much of the demand for property crime here in San Francisco. That's the kind of work that we're doing to get ahead of the problem and not simply wait and sit back for police to make arrests. We know that when it comes to property crime in particular, sadly, San Francisco police are spread thin. They're not able to respond to every single 911 call. And they're only making arrests in about 3% of reported thefts. And so instead of simply waiting to prosecute those 3%, what we're doing is being proactive about detecting, disrupting, and dismantling the organized fencing operations that drive so much property crime in San Francisco.
Do you think jail time is, do you think jail time is sufficient punishment for such behavior? And if not, what is an alternative that you see fit?
Well, Betty, if you're asking about the death penalty, I don't believe in or support the death penalty, certainly not for property crime. Is that what you're asking?
Jail time, serving time in jail, not the death penalty specifically.
Oh, well, I think it depends on how much time and what the criminal history is. We can't generalize. You know, if we're going to be smart on crime, if we're going to be effective at breaking the cycle of incarceration and stopping the revolving door, we need to look at every single case based on the facts, based on the law, based on the individual circumstances. And we need to figure out what kind of intervention and accountability is going to prevent tomorrow's crime. That's exactly what we're doing at the San Francisco District Attorney's Office.
Do you believe your policies are soft? Do you believe that you are soft on crime?
Absolutely not. Nothing could be further from the truth. Anybody who says that isn't looking at the facts or the evidence or my record.
And I want to ask you, I know we're running out of time, but you know, I've heard this so time and time again from residents. Do you think your policies create an environment that invite people to come to San Francisco and embolden criminals to come here to steal because they see this hands-off approach?
I'm sorry, I don't know what hands-off approach you're referring to, Betty. We don't have a hands-off approach in my office. We look at the cases the police bring us, and we're filing criminal charges at a higher rate under my administration than in Alameda County this year, or than in San Francisco in 2018 or 2019 before I took office. So if people talk about a hands-off approach, they may be confusing me for someone else. That's not what's going on in San Francisco under my leadership.
To clarify for them, the hands-off approach is routinely dropping or reducing charges for criminals, in many cases, repeat offenders. Chief Scott referred to many of those suspects over the weekend as repeat offenders.
Well, the fact of the matter is, if this were something driven by my policies, we wouldn't be seeing it in Chicago, San Jose, Hayward, Walnut Creek, or all the other places we're seeing it across the country. Anybody who tries to say that the crimes we witnessed last weekend are the result of a specific policy by a specific elected official is trying to distract you from the bigger picture issues that we know are impacting our communities, not only in San Francisco, but across the Bay Area and across the country. These are trends that are far bigger than any one elected official or any one policy. And if people don't want to pay attention to the big picture, then I'm sorry to say that that they're not looking at what's really happening.